What's up, guys? Your brother in Christ, Josh here. And I just wanted to talk about a little bit of a controversial topic. And it's a topic about money. Anyways, what we're going to be talking about today is the topic of 50-50 versus the man being the sole breadwinner. And I just want to give a biblical Christian perspective. So without further ado, let's get to it. So within the last few years, there's been this whole debate about whether it's all right for a couple to go 50-50 or if the man should just pay for everything. I know, the awkward moment when you either decide to ask your girl to split the bill or just let the man pay for everything. There's a verse in 1 Timothy 5:8 that some people use to believe that the man should just be the sole breadwinner, women shouldn't have to work, women don't have to pay bills, and just let the man do everything. But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. But the interesting thing here is it depends on what version you use, because some versions use he, and some other versions use a more gender-neutral term like they or them. I'm not trying to talk about or promote the LGBTQ communities here, but yeah, that's a whole nother conversation for another video. But if you care to look at the actual context, you'll see it's probably talking about something completely different than the man being the sole provider of this household and just having all the bills be on him. So if you go from verse 3, it says, "Honor widows who are truly widows, but if a widow has children or grandchildren, let them first learn to show godliness to their own household, to make some return to their parents, for this is pleasing in the sight of God. She who is truly a widow, left all alone, has set her hope on God, and continues in supplications and prayers night and day. But she who is self-indulgent is dead, even while she lives. Command these things as well, so they may be without reproach." So see, guys, if you just read the overall broader context of this chapter surrounding the verse, it's talking about younger children. It's talking about children. It's talking about widows, and specifically, it's talking about children, likely adult children, having the responsibility to care for their elderly widows who don't have anybody else to care for them financially. Normally, in most cases, in that time, Paul was suggesting that if there is nobody else to care for him, if Paul back in that time was suggesting that if there was a widow who didn't have a husband and there was nobody else to care for him and no children, then that responsibility would fall on the church. But if there are children or grandchildren that can help out their parents, then they should. Obviously, it's just common sense that you should help out your parents financially if you're able to, especially since they sacrificed everything for you to just really be able to just live and survive, especially when you were a young child, and they just put everything into raising you, so it's natural. So we just want to give back, This is the real context of that verse in 1 Timothy 5:8. It's not just talking about a man being the sole breadwinner, he has to pay all the bills, but overall, the context was talking about people providing for their families. It's a collective responsibility. Anyone who can contribute financially should, especially when it comes to the context of their own household. Speaking of collective responsibility for their household, did you know the Proverbs 31 woman was a very hard worker, even to the point where she was a breadwinner, earning income? Wow, crazy, I know. Wow, crazy, I know. So I'm just going to shoot you some verses from the Proverbs 31 chapter, starting from verse 15. "She rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens. She considers a field and buys it with the fruit of her hands. She plants a vineyard. She perceives her merchandise is profitable. She makes linen garments and sells them. She delivers sashes to the merchant. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness." So yeah, guys, this is just showing how the Proverbs 31 woman was really just industrious. She was really out here making bread, And I'm not just talking about bread as in a loaf of bread. She was actually making income for the purpose of providing for her family. I'm sure her husband is probably working to provide, but the point is, godly women, they can work. And so, yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. I would also say that It all depends on your, I would say that whether you believe in 50-50 or the man should just pay for everything, all depends on your culture and your upbringing, how you were raised. I know a lot of African, Indian, and Middle Eastern cultures, they're very big on the man being the sole provider. And I also saw that in some Indian and Middle Eastern cultures, women were either just discouraged or straight up forbidden from working. So if you grew up in a more traditional household where the man was the primary or sole breadwinner making the money, and if the mother just stayed at home raising the kids or was just a housewife or whatever, then of course you're more likely to hold to traditional values when it comes to money. So if you're a man, you're probably going to want to be the primary or sole breadwinner and probably wouldn't want your wife to work. And if you're a woman who was raised traditional, your aim is probably going to want to be a stay-at-home wife that may or may not choose to work, but your primary focus is the home. And if you'd probably like the option of not working if it really came down to it. I know, and also on the contrary, I know in some other cultures, I know for me, this is just observation. So if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I know a lot of in Filipino cultures as well as Latins and Hispanic cultures, a lot of the women are raised to be quote unquote independent. And what I mean by that is just not this I don't need no man or men ain't ish type of stuff, but they're pretty much raised to just be able to take care of themselves in every way, including financially, and not just have to solely depend on a man for everything. So a lot of them are raised to just really work hard, go to school, get a career, and be financially stable, all that type of stuff. Not just to look to a man to just want to pay all our bills and provide financial security. Although there's nothing wrong in that in and of itself if that's what you want. I know for me, since I'm Jamaican, well, my parents are Jamaican. They both met here in Toronto, Canada, and I was also born in Toronto, Canada. But in either case, in Jamaican culture, it's what the world calls traditional. It's actually quite the opposite, since a lot of the men there don't really care to commit to a woman, especially with the marriage rates being so low, only about 15%. And there's this, we call them waste man. But yeah, it's common to hear about Jamaican men just mooching off their girl, just not even marrying her or committing to them, just being lazy, doing whatever, smoking weed and drinking with their homeboys all day, while the woman works and makes all the money. Could never be me. Yeah, couldn't be me, son. No way, dog. Anyways, please excuse my flawed Jamaican patois. I'm Canadian, okay, so just let it go. In my case, I grew up with a single mom where my dad wasn't really home around all that much, and the few times where he was around, like, he didn't work really, but for the most part, he a lot of the time was just sitting at home watching TV, going out with his friends, smoking weed, drinking, all that stuff. It was my mom who was the sole breadwinner and did everything she could to take care of me financially. It's probably why I looked up to women a bit more than men when it comes to role models of things like hard work, perseverance, all that type of stuff. It's like I didn't have no men in the house to look up to. And even at school, a lot of the guys are just kind of fooling around and stuff like that. It's usually all the girls around me who were like really working hard and achieving it just a bit more than the guys. So I never really grew up with too many positive male role models. So yeah. Anyways, it reminds me of this story when I met this girl on a dating app about 2 years ago. I was 23 at the time. I'm 26 now, but I matched with this wonderful Christian lady. She was actually looking to she was actually looking to get into law. And yeah, we kind of hit it off. And then I actually kind of ghosted her because I'm like, oh snap. If we actually work out and become a thing, if the Lord actually puts us together, I'm going to have to lead, provide, and protect. And I wasn't ready to do that yet. At the time, I knew absolutely nothing about what it meant to be a man biblically. Leading, protecting, providing, none of that jazz. So I kind of just chickened out and ghosted her. I made the quote-unquote excuse that I was going to go pray. And she was like, all right. She was like all for it, especially when it came to my faith. Like, she was really all about and just really wanted to see the best for me. And then out of stupidity, I kind of just blocked her and unmatched her and never spoke to her again. I kind of feel bad. If you're out there, I'm really, really sorry. Please forgive me. Speaking of all that, providing biblically, now let me be clear. I do believe that biblically, men should provide. They should absolutely be making some sort of effort to make as much money as they can. Obviously, not being like the world and just chasing money endlessly and not caring about God, but they should be examples of like really hard workers. And yeah, just really be working as hard as they can to provide for themselves and a potential future family if God gives them one, you know? So a man should absolutely be at least trying to make an effort to provide and better himself financially and career wise, or starting a business or whatever the Lord has for him. Ladies, if he insists on just playing video games all day, doing nothing with his life, or if he's not trying to do anything, if he doesn't care to just try and get better, please run the other way. Now, that being said, I did state that biblically men should be working hard to provide. However, there's actually no biblical mandate for the man to be the sole breadwinner or to be solely responsible for all the finances and just paying all the bills and just being the one who makes all the money while the wife stays at home. Yes, a man should be working as hard as he can to provide for himself. And if he has a family, he should be working to do that too. But I don't believe that biblically all that the entire responsibility of that falls on him alone, on his shoulders. Yes, I understand the man is the head of the household. In certain times, in certain cultures, men were the sole breadwinners, especially in the era of the 1800s and 1900s, where it wasn't really common for women to work outside the home at all or to make an income. I think during the early and mid 1900s, it was favorable that a man could be the sole breadwinner and they could live off one income. I think a lot of traditionalists see this through that sort of mindset. That being said, times are different now and the economy is much different. A man back then would likely be able to support a family on one income, a wife and kids. But now that's getting near impossible, especially if you live in a Western country like Canada or America. Look, I know inflation has gotten the best of us. Housing prices have skyrocketed, and food prices are out of control, just like with everything else. I think unless you're one of the top percentile earners, or if you have minimal expenses and know how to budget well, I think it's hard for a man or woman to be able to survive alone on one income. I think it's wise that, in my opinion, like if both people in the relationship were down with it, like it's wise for them to both earn an income and combine finances so they can build wealth together, especially for their future children. Also, I feel in that way it'd make it a bit easier on the man's part, so he doesn't have to shoulder all the financial responsibility. Of course, I believe men should be providing and stuff, but at the same time, I believe women are helpers as well, as God created the wife to be a helpmate. Now that being a helpmate can come in multiple different ways. For some people, that can mean helping out financially by earning income for the family. In other ways, that could be being a stay-at-home wife and or mom, just raising the kids or cooking, cleaning, all that stuff. When it comes to this, there's really no right or wrong answer, and that's really just between something to just pray about with your partner and take to the Lord and let Him give you the wisdom to guide you on that. But yeah, I would say that in this economy, if at all possible, and if both partners are okay with it, then two incomes are always better than one. Of course, with certain circumstances, like maybe a pregnancy, like then of course I understand with certain circumstances, like for example, if the wife gets pregnant, then of course it'd be very sensible and necessary for the man to take on their financial responsibility, especially if she's not going to be able to work for 9 months or however long. And also, after kids are born, it's up to the couple to decide who's going to be raising the kids and who's going to be staying at home. In most cases, a lot of people would decide that the man's going to be the primary or sole breadwinner while the woman's going to stay at home, which that's totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. And it works out for a lot of people. But there are also couples where the wife is where the wife is the primary or sole breadwinner and the dad is the stay-at-home. and the dad is staying at home, taking care of the kids, doing repairs around the house and everything else. Although it may be uncommon and unorthodox, in any case, there's absolutely nothing wrong with, and in any case, there's absolutely nothing unbiblical about a woman having a career and making an income like a man does. There's also nothing necessarily wrong with a woman if she out earns her man financially. Because let's face it, especially with this economy where more women are working, and actually a lot more women are going to college and graduating at higher rates than men. So that may help them get higher paying jobs, which may either, and it'll make their income either rival or exceed that of a man in some cases. The Proverbs 31 woman was both a breadwinner and did traditional wifey duties, such as cooking, cleaning, taking care of the home, all that type of stuff. But if you're a woman who out earns her man, I beg you, please do not use it against him. Do not belittle him or anything like that. That's definitely going to cause a lot of problems. I don't think a man is any less of a man if he's not making as much as his wife, or if his woman out earns him, or if he's not able to make enough so where his wife can stay at home and he can be the sole breadwinner. Like, a man is much more than his income, and a man is not just some ATM or wallet. Now, of course, don't get me wrong. I believe men should work hard as they can to provide and be financially stable. Yes, absolutely. But to belittle a man just because he doesn't make as much as his woman, or his woman makes more than him, or he doesn't make a certain amount of money, that is absolutely wrong. Just to call him broke or a bum or a loser or whatever, that's wrong, and that should not happen. And if that's you, man or woman, you need to repent. But overall, it really depends on what type of relationship you want. Like, maybe if you're a guy, you're looking to be the sole breadwinner, and you don't want your wife to work at all, but you just stay home and take care of the kids. And that's totally fine. Or maybe you're a guy who does want your wife to work and build wealth together. That's, again, totally fine. Maybe you're a more traditional woman and you want to be a stay-at-home wife and mom where you don't have to work at all. Totally fine. Or maybe you're a woman whose career has an entrepreneurial mindset and wants to start a business and wants to help your husband with income and help provide for your family and future kids. Again, also fine. For me, I'd be 100% supportive if my wife made more than me. I think especially since I grew up with a female breadwinner being raised by a single mom, so I don't really have any quote unquote bragging rights, or it's weird because I don't really have any leverage to use it against her. Like, let's say I made more than her, then if she ends up making more than me, I'd probably be getting humbled big time, especially since I didn't grow up with a hardworking man who made more. So, yeah, just my thoughts on that. But yeah, for me, I wouldn't feel emasculated or threatened at all if my woman made more than I did. I'd be 100% supportive. In fact, that'd make me more ambitious as well and want to even work harder, especially since she's ambitious. That kind of rubs off on me and makes me want to be more ambitious too and work even harder. So together we can provide for the both of us and our future family and kids. I think a lot of guys have this instinct of wanting to be a breadwinner and provider. And don't get me wrong, that's good. I believe God put it there. I don't think we should just be arrogant when it comes to just wanting to make more, especially since some guys use it as a form of control to just control their women. They're like, oh, I make the money, so you have to do what I say. And yeah, some women are in pretty bad situations because of that, especially abusive situations where they're not able to even financially sustain themselves because man pretty much is controlling and making all the money. So yeah, just something to consider. But ultimately, all in all, we don't need to be legalistic about this and shaming people. God understands that we're all in different situations. Life happens. Things happen. You may be in a situation where the man is making more, but suddenly he loses his job or something happens, and the woman may have to take on the finances, or vice versa. Or if the woman gets pregnant, then obviously the man would definitely be taking on the finances there. But we shouldn't be overly judgmental and just setting all these like legalistic, unbiblical standards. But we should just know how, man or woman, just to be financially stable and just have our own relationship with God, and just have the Holy Spirit lead us and guide us and give us wisdom for each of our specific situations, because everyone's different. And yeah, guys, I just wanted to leave you with that. So yeah, that was my video on this, guys, and my thoughts on, from a Christian perspective, on 50-50 versus the man's sole breadwinner. All know that should be between the couple and God, because like I said, everyone's situation is different. So yeah, with that being said, God bless you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.